So this is the person that made Choo Choo Charles, Sienta Ludos. Let's take a look at that. This is the game he made, Choo Choo Charles. I'm pretty sure you guys have seen that, where you're effectively on a train the entire time and you need to defend and fight this guy right here. And then you can get upgrades. The way this one is drawn, it's eye-catching. It induces fear that is very easily marketable online because people see this and they immediately click. This is the developer behind this video, and he says that the Steam reviews are misleading. I don't know what he means by that, to be honest, because the more I think about it, 6.5 is not 90% positive in my mind, because 90% of people say that they like the game. So to me, that is just a 9 out of 10. Or what he means by that is 6.5 is people that voted yes for the game say it's 6.5 in their book, but it's 90% that said 6.5. So ultimately the score is 6.5, not 90%. But then again, when you're going to Steam, when you're going for a game, there is only, do you want to buy the game or not buy the game? And in my opinion, that's all that counts. And so that's what I would look for. If I see 90% positive, then I see, okay, 90% of people recommend this game to buy to someone else. So I should buy it if I want to play it. All right, let's see here.
So Steam's yes and no review system is kind of statistically rigged to make mediocre and like kind of okay games look way more positively rated than they actually are.
But is that true, though? Sorry to interrupt already. Choo Choo Charles is 91%. I know for a fact that a game that is not as popular will have 60% or maybe even less. So, for example, Dragon Age, the Veilguard. This is mostly positive, sitting at 70%. So that would be 6 out of 10, maybe 7 out of 10. So is it really correct? Because a mediocre game, I think it will show. Really good games show up as really good games, as like 90% plus positive. Anyone remember when you could rate videos 1 to 5 stars on YouTube instead of dislike? You could actually? Damn. But I think it applies to YouTube as well. So for example, for this video, it's more than 96% like the video. And I think that applies to any other video too. So for example, I know for a fact, let's see here, Snow White. Have you guys seen this Snow White trailer? For those of you who are using the extension, we're not going to watch it. I'm going to get demonetized. But look at this. It has 705,000 downvotes to 27,000 upvotes. So ultimately, this could be a less than 1 out of 10. I think you could still apply this math, to be honest. But let's not find more reasonings. Let's see what he means.
And in turn, that makes you more willing to buy more games because you think games are better than they actually are.
Holy, what's going on with this door here? Is this like what is going on with this guy? Is he living in the forest? And someone is trying to break in? Look at the locks. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's a chain? And he has bars? What's going on there?
So Steam's review system it's kind of unique. Most storefronts, most marketplaces are going to use like a 1 through 5 star rating. A lot of other entertainment and media.
Yeah, but listen. So he's right. Sorry, I'm pausing so much. Epic Store games. Let's go to a game that's definitely out. Ooh, Path of Exile 2. There we go. You can take a look at that game, and we have a... Oh my god. Okay, give me a second, guys. I need to put in my... I'm the 2nd of May, 1990. Let's just click something here. Oh, perfectly. There we go. And then we have a 4.4 star rating. Okay, if we go by this rating, that would mean... calculator. Fine, it's like a 8.8 out of 10, right? That's what we have. So 88%. Is it what this would be? Let's take a look. Steam, DB, or let's just Steam Path of Exile 2. Let's compare this. So by his account, this 4 out of 4, this 8 out of 10, or almost 9 out of 10 on Steam would not be the same. But it's 82%. It's like almost perfect. I don't know, like, I wonder like what his explanation for this is. Let's see here, because this is definitely not a mediocre game. This game is insanely good. I've played it for like 10 hours now, and I'm having a blast. Doxing your age? Yeah, I'm old. You could put any date, Cake. I know. He's putting real date. Lol.
Like movies, for example, use in most scenarios, it's going to be like a 0 to 100% rating.
Metascore.
And the yes/no system has been very misunderstood in how it works. So I'm going to tell you a story about when I was working on Choo Choo Charles.
Okay.
So when I was getting towards the end of development on Choo Choo Charles, I started running a bunch of play tests with hundreds of people. And I would have them play the game, they'd go in blind, and they'd fill out a survey with, you know...
How did he do that, by the way? Where is the people coming from? Can I give you 100 people as well for my game? Like, maybe you guys will test my game too. You're 100 there as well. The chin is distracting.
They'd report bugs and other issues, things that they did and didn't like, and they would also give the game a score. And naturally, I was just like, okay, I'll just have people rate it on a scale of 1 to 10. And I was hoping that I would get like an average of around an 8. That was my goal, because I wanted to get on Steam, I wanted to have like an 80% positive review score, because I was like, you know, that's a point that I would be happy with. If it was falling below that, I'd be kind of unhappy. I'd feel kind of like
as a developer, you will be unhappy, but you should also know that unless the review rating falls below 45%, your Steam game will always show up. There will be no negative effect on the game being sold or on the game being shown on Steam. So you could have a 50% rated game and still it will show up on the front page if it's getting enough reviews and sales at the same time and people spend a lot of time in the game. But the 50% will affect the customer. Not Steam, but the customer. The customer is more likely to not buy the game at 50%.
I failed the player base, and people just weren't really happy with it, or as happy as I would have wanted them to be. And so when people started giving in these surveys and I started getting the numbers back, the average rating out of 10 was coming back around like a mid 6 to 7. And I ran multiple tests, you know, as I was kind of testing the game and making additional adjustments and changes and fixing more bugs. And so, you know, the rating...
Maybe for this type of rating, 1 out of 5 is better then. Because ultimately people are leaning more towards the middle, and when you have a 5-star rating, people will not gonna rate a 3, but they are more likely to rate a 4, which then would in turn, multiplied by 2, become 80%. Like, I don't know about you guys, but if you have a rating system where you have 5 dots, let's say you have a rating system like this, and then in the middle is 3, and usually to the very right is perfect, and then to the left you have terrible, most people will either check here or here. Most of the time. Very few actually, some will go in the middle, but it's mostly here or here. And so what we will have then here is, this is 4, which then multiplied by 2 will become an 8. And so maybe that's his 10-star system being a little wonky because people have more dots to fill in.
Kind of crept up a little bit over time, but it kind of settled in at about a 7. And I wasn't super happy about that. I was really disappointed. I was thinking, man, when I release this game, I'm not going to get as good a reviews as I was hoping. But then I realized, wait a minute. So I was looking through my surveys, and it's such an obvious thing, but I've never heard anybody bring this up. So I got to talk about it because I think it's really, really fascinating. So I'm looking through my surveys, and I'm looking at, you know, the graphs with like how people are rating it. And I realized, wait a minute, almost all of these reviews are above a 5.
Yeah, so that
6s,
would be positive.
7s, 8s, with a handful of 9s and 10s, and like a couple of reviews, like 2 or 3 reviews that are coming back under a 5. And I was like, you know, reasonably, if somebody was on Steam and they were writing a review and they were like, huh, you know, this game was okay, it's like a 6 out of 10, I guess I'll give it a thumbs up. Then they're going to rate it as a yes, even if it's just a 6, even if the game is like just crossing that line. They're going to give it a thumbs up. And that thumbs up is just as valuable as a 10 out of a 10. Okay, so your 10 out of 10 player that absolutely loves it is just as valuable to your review score as a 6 out of 10. And so, obviously, I just ran a couple quick numbers, and I saw like, okay, if every single review that's above a 6 was a yes, and every single review that's below a 5 was a no, and I just discounted the 5s because that's kind of a perfect, like, right in the middle, like, I'll just take that out. It came back as an overwhelming, like, positive. Not overwhelmingly positive by the Steam standard, but it came back as, like, I think it was like a 85 or like 90% review score.
Yeah, that's what he has right now on this game. Choo Choo Charles has 91%. Who leaves a review if they think a game is whatever? I never left any reviews, by the way. So who leaves a review? That's what you have to ask, bro. But yeah. So I think he's right there, but what is the problem? Because ultimately people recommend the game when they upvote the game. So, like, I think what's happening here is the more someone is angered by your game, the more likely they are going to write a review. And the more someone is happy about your game, the more likely they're going to write a positive review about your game. That means that you don't have the people in the middle make reviews because they left whatever. And then like, okay, well, whatever, I don't know. I'm just not going to write a review. And so ultimately, I think the review system is still somewhat accurate because you will have 7s and 8s and 9s and 10s make reviews. And then 1, 2, 3 to 4 make reviews too. So it is a little bit biased towards being favored more positively. But how much is that really positive?
Or that it would get on Steam. And so I was like, okay, that's interesting. Statistics, right? Okay, math, cool. So as I was doing future tests, in addition to having people rate the game on a score,
you also gave them thumbs up or down, right?
10, I also had them rate the game as if they were rating a Steam product. And so I said, give it a, either a yes or a no, and write a brief review. And I found that, surprise, surprise, the numbers that you get off of that yes/no come back way more positive, right? And it makes it look like your game is 90.
But I wonder if that's just because he had an audience and they were already interested in the game. So for example, if I ask you guys to rate my game, it will come back more positively than if I asked some random person on the internet, because you guys, ultimately you wanna rate my game positive. Yeah, I mean, some people of you will try to troll me and you will give it more negative rating, but for the most part, the majority of you guys will give me a positive rating. I'll troll for sure. Okay, yeah, okay. So there will be some trolls, but for the most part, you guys will want me to succeed, and so you're gonna give me a more positive rating. 0 out of 10, of course. Okay. Yeah, interesting gameplay, cool visuals. 3 out of 10. Yeah, less blabbering. Yeah.
% positive, and technically, it is. It's not a lie. It's not a lie. It's math. So what's so interesting about it is that people perceive the Steam review score as a 1 through 10 score. Or they perceive it as a 0
I actually think it is.
Score.
It's a 1 through 10 score if you should buy the game or not. That's how I see it.
And they'll quote that in various different contexts.
And so the closer a game goes towards the middle, where it becomes 70%, maybe 60%, the less likely people are that want to buy it. So for example, for this game, it is very close to 60%. Let me find one that's actually 60%. Guys, do you have a game that's rated 60% on Steam? When does it turn yellow? There we go. Okay, so yeah, there it is. Look at this. So I think it is a 1 through 10 rating whether you should buy the game. Look at Payday 2. Oh, 3, sorry. This game has a mixed review count of 62%. Let's not look at the 41% here. Let's look at the 62% here. That number, or the color of this, is yellow, indicating that you gotta be careful when buying this. And that's from a 6 out of 10. So I think these numbers are actually accurate because they are top heavy, if that makes sense. A 95% game is more well received than a very positive game by the customer.
Texts. One example is the massive divide that we have, the massive kind of out of touch nature of like the journalist to or critic to player rating.
Yeah, so like I would never listen to these, and most people don't listen to them. If anything, they make fun of the journalists because they're stupid. They all have the same opinion. It's like copy paste. And
obviously there is a little bit of out of touchedness with how critics review games. They do generally rate them lower. And it's
no. So if it's an indie game, they do generally maybe rate them lower. But if it's a AAA game, they will generally rate them higher because they're getting paid in terms of favors by the companies. So yeah, they all have the same opinion because they're trying to push a narrative.
They're more difficult to please. They're critics, right? That's their job.
No, they're not critics. No, they're not. Unless he's talking about YouTubers that are unbiased in a way, then yes.
But it's also aided by review systems like this. I cannot tell you the number of times that I've seen people in relation to for Choo Choo Charles, where people will be like, wow, I can't believe that somebody would give this a 6 out of 10 or a 7 out of 10. Because look, it's got 92%. It's 92%. It's a 9 out of 10 on Steam.
Yeah, but these are
people think it's a 9.
But these are stupid people. Like, they're dumb. Like, there will always be stupid people online. Like, you can give them a 1 out of 10 rating and they still won't understand. Because people don't understand statistics.
Not a 9 out of 10. It's not. Okay? If you were to take 1,000 people blind, which is basically what I did. I didn't play with 1,000 people, but the ratings that I got before launch, they didn't come back as an average 9 out of 10. Okay, they came back as like a 7. But the way that the statistics work, it naturally drives it higher, and that also plays into kind of this additional sort of phenomenon where. And I couldn't quote specific studies because, again, this was like a couple of years ago when I was learning about some of this stuff. They've done tests where they'll like show a movie to 2 groups of people. Mm-hmm. And before watching the movie, they tell group A that this movie was rated 9 out of 10 by critics. And group B is told this movie was rated a 6 out of 10 by critics. Exact same movie. Mm-hmm. The people who are told
Bias.
So
what he means by that is bias. If you see 90%, you're more likely to think the game is a 9 out of 10.
Rated lower, rated it significantly lower than the people who were told that it was rated higher.
Yeah, they were infected by bias. So
when you have a review system like this, which naturally kind of upticks the perceived value and quality of a product, naturally more people are going to rate it even more positively. So what you have, or more negatively, right? It goes both ways. So ultimately what this...
But are you 100% sure? Like, for example, how can Payday have a 41% downvote rate? Because I know that people didn't like the game because there was something happening. I forgot what that was. Number 1, server issues, always online. 2, lack of content. 3, bugs. So here it is, 41%. And so people seeing this... Most people buy this on Steam, right? Their latest reviews are 627. So the people who bought this, they saw the 41% review count, but they still gave it a 62% overall. So I know what he means. And yes, there is bias towards, like, so that's how I select movies. When I see a movie that is like 6 out of 10, usually I don't click on the movie. On Amazon Prime, for example. I have Amazon Prime, and only the videos that are rated 8 out of 10 or more are the movies that I watch. I don't think this is totally true either. I think this is essentially, it's a bias, and then you're more likely to think that the game is bad, but then you can also be positively surprised. Or let's say the movie or whatever. But he's right there. There is a negativity bias when you get to see these things.
System done.
And you're being told, oh, the movie's bad. Okay, let's see. Where is it bad? Why is it bad? That's how people go into the movie instead of what type of movie is it? Is it good or bad? I don't know.
It creates sort of a curve. I don't know if bell curve is the right term, but basically decent games that are just crossing the line, just crossing the threshold, get rated way higher than they should, and games that are just on the bottom end of the line get rated way worse than they should. And this is good
Example?
for Steam and good for game developers, obviously. The better that you think a product is, the more likely you are to buy it. Wow. Crazy, I know, insane. Who would have guessed? Now, the one interesting thing about it, though, that I'm still a little bit confused by, is that, like, for, using Choo Choo Charles as an example, because that's the one that obviously I've got the most data on, since it's my game. If you were to go to, like, PlayStation and check the PlayStation rating, because PlayStation uses a 1 through 5 star rating. On PlayStation, the game has a 4.53.
See, that's what I said. See, this is what it goes down to this again. This is a terrible and perfect game, and people are either clicking this. Sorry. People are either checking this one or this one. They very rarely click this one here, and they very rarely go perfect or terrible. So like you're always ending up with this 2 or 4 out of 5. Did you research doing this? No, you can just observe yourself and other people doing this. This is usually what people do.
Stars out of 5. If I was to show you.
Yeah.
4.5. On a 10 scale, that would be a 9 out of 10, which is consistent with Steam. Similar thing, I think if you were to go to Xbox, let me check. Yeah, same thing on Xbox. It's got a 4.5 out of 5. So
I think actually if Steam were to add 1 out of 10, it would be higher as well. Because when people recommend the game and they put a thumbs up, they will put a higher score in there. Because usually people who are just mid about the game, they just won't bother and move on.
I don't know exactly why that is, that the 5 scale still lines up with the Steam rating, despite the statistical advantage of the yes-no rating system. I think it could be, it's probably a variety of factors. I think one, the console version of the game released a year after the PC version. So I would assume that there were a lot more people, like when it first came out on PC, and there was a lot of hype around it, and everybody was buying it. There were probably a lot more people that were kind of on the fence. They were kind of unsure. They're like, everybody's playing it, so I'll try it. But it wasn't really their kind of thing. There were maybe, more on the fence people. And now that, it's come out on consoles, since it's a year after the fact, maybe the only people that are buying it are...
See, his game came out on consoles a year after he tested the game on computer. And so that's what we're going to do too. We're going to check out if the game is doing well on computer. And if it does, then we're going to put it on console too. Or on mobile phone or whatever. Other operating systems, for sure. But first you do the test on the computer. Hello there, Mr. Zemayo. Good morning, bro. First time in this stream. What do you do around here? Oh, we make games and talk about games, bro. And we're going to play PoE 2 today.
People that they've been a fan of the game for the past year, and they're just like, they've been dying to get their hands on it, and it's like they've watched videos of it on YouTube, and they know that this is their kind of game. So maybe there's naturally a more potent user base, and it's not as watered down by the hype and the fear of missing out and stuff like that. It also might just be a console thing. Maybe console games just tend to get higher ratings. I'm not exactly sure, because this is the only time that I've released a game on consoles. There are some odd things, and again, also with the console.
Yeah, look at this Steam. Well, that's Steam. Yeah.
Side of things, it could be that people are rating it higher because, again, they've seen it come out on PC. They've seen the PC reviews. They know that people generally like. They're like, oh yeah, it's a 9 out of 10. It's not a 9 out of 10, but they perceive it as that. So then they.
I'm in the way. Sorry about that, guys. I'm in the way. I'm gonna quickly move myself here. There you go. Hello, I'm on the other side. Good morning.
Write a higher review in return. So, yeah, there's a lot of nuance to it, but it is very interesting to see. I'm not blaming Steam of doing this intentionally or anything. I mean, heck, I benefit from it a lot. It benefits me. It benefits every other game developer ever, except for the people that make crappy games.
Again, I think it's just the people that really like the game make a review, and people that don't like the game at all make a review. So you have like the top, let's say, 30% making a review, and the bottom 30% making a review, and that just evens out. That's how I see it. Because, yeah, and then there's a bunch of people who don't make a review.
Their ratings get tanked a little bit. But anybody that's making even decent games is going to get way higher ratings. Okay, everything is in your favor. If you're a game developer and you're getting mixed or bad reviews, you're like, oh no, I've only got a 70%. Like, bro, stop crying. It's all rigged in your favor. It really couldn't be any easier. So I'm not necessarily blaming Steam, saying that they do this intentionally, but it does indirectly, very directly, benefit, Steam, whether, no matter what the intention is.
No, I think he's missing the fact that people already get suspicious of a game when it's at 70%. So like, people don't look at the scale as a 1 out of 10 scale, or like from 1 to 10 scale. They look at a scale of, is it above 80% or the game's gotta be good? If it's below 80% or the game's gotta be trash. That's how people look at the scale. Like, mostly when people see 60%, they're like, ooh, that's bad. And that's 60%. That's still 60% of people say yes to the game. So I think he's not taking that into account at all. So that's why his game is 90%, and that's why his game is also an 8 out of 10 or 9 out of 10 on other review scores. You can't translate yes, no to 1 to 5. The scores would be split in half. Yeah, I think he's like, that's how it is. Like, you took a look at 50% bad, 100% good, 90% good, 80% wonky, 70%, ooh, bro, that's not really good. 60%, oh god, okay, well, it's getting somewhere bad. Yeah.
And it's the system has been very, very, very heavily misinterpreted by players, because they see a 92 or a 95 or a 98% on Steam, and they think that the game is a 9 out of 10. But again, naturally, when they play the game, they also enjoy it more. It's a weird thing, man. It's a weird thing. But I think it's a really interesting example of just how statistics can be used to honestly lie and manipulate stuff. There's lots of interesting examples of stuff like that. So, but yeah, I just wanted to talk about it. Again, it's one of these things where it's like, once you look at it, it's pretty like stupidly obvious. So I might not be explaining anything of particular interest, but I've never heard anybody else talk about it, so I just wanted to make a video about it. That's it.
Bye. That was a quick end. Okay, well, I think he's missing the fact that people look at the statistics in a different way on Steam. The video was good, but I think he just misses the mark on people perceive the statistics on Steam differently than they perceive them on, let's say, a 1 to 10 rating. For example, for Path of Exile 2, for me the game is amazing. It is an 11, 12 or something out of 10. That's how good the game is. But it has 80% on Steam. And so people seeing this will see, oh, 80% means there are some problems in the game. People see this number differently than a rating from 1 to 10. Did you rate it, Cakez? No, I don't rate games. I don't spend time on this. And so there are some people who don't like the game. Let's see here. Can't respec ascendancies, made the wrong choice. Character is bricked. Unless you want to brick your character, guide following is a must. All mobs in the area respawn when you die. Total waste of player time. So there are people who do not like the game. This is the review that I read, by the way, over here to the right. And so that says someone like me, who has been on Steam a lot, that there are problems in the game, yet it's still decent. And so I think he's just reading the statistics wrong on Steam. People perceive this differently. They see 70% on Steam and they are like, oh, the game is not that great. Maybe I shouldn't buy it. Mostly positive is not very positive. And very positive is not overwhelmingly positive. And so there is essentially already a 1 out of 10 rating, or a 1 to 10 rating. It just begins at like 40%, where people say 40%, I'm definitely not gonna buy this. Anyways, still a good video. That's from the creator of True Childs, and he made it right, you know. He made a game first and then he started making videos, which, you know, I didn't. But, you know, it is how it is. We are working on our game now.